Good evening, everybody. Welcome to tonight's meeting of the Brighton Town Board. It's December 22nd, and I'm Bill Maley, your Brighton Town Supervisor. I'm pleased to have you watching us. Once again, we are conducting this meeting remotely on Zoom. It is being broadcast in Brighton on our cable access channel 1303. Welcome to everybody watching there. And you can live stream it on our YouTube channel, and the link to that is on the town's webpage, www.townofbrighton.org. All of that is in compliance with Governor Cuomo's executive order issued last March, modifying some of the provisions of the open meetings law to enable local government bodies to continue to meet remotely through the pandemic in a way that is open and accessible to the public. We take that accessibility and that openness seriously. In just a couple minutes, we will conduct, as we always do, our open forum. Again, accessibility, we continue to have our ASL sign language interpreters. Allie and Paige are with us tonight. Thank you both very much. For those of you that are watching and want to follow along with us, the agenda, as it always is, along with all of the supporting materials, and there's quite a bit tonight, are all available on the town's webpage. Again, www.townofbrighton.org. We'll start tonight with the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Just a couple of updates. We are continuing to conduct rapid COVID testing in partnership with Monroe County at Temple Kodesh, Tuesdays and Thursdays from 2 until 4 p.m. in the afternoon. Although I will note that this coming Thursday, which is Christmas Eve, and next Thursday, New Year's Eve, the testing will not be taking place. So the next day for testing here at Temple Kodesh will be next Tuesday, the 29th. Again, those tests are by pre-registration. Now, you'll see if you go to the web page, we have registration filled through the end of the year. We do hope to be able to continue with that testing after the first of the year. We're still working out some of the logistical details on that, but we know how important the testing is. As you've probably heard, COVID vaccinations have begun. Yesterday at the Jewish Home of Rochester here in Brighton, the first nursing home residents in the Rochester area were vaccinated. It's very exciting to see that. And the vaccination is so important as we go forward. I know there are a lot of questions about some of the details of the vaccination program. And those are going to be, continuing to come out over time. But I think one thing that is fair to say and important to say is that the vaccination policy of the state is designed to recognize issues of equity, particularly noting that people of color have been the hardest impacted by COVID. There's also a recognized need to vaccinate frontline workers, like our medical personnel that have been working so hard throughout this pandemic. It's also important to, after that, make sure that people who are at special risk due to their age and or comorbidity medical conditions and essential workers. Now, we still don't know exactly who essential workers are. We know there have been a lot of people that we all look at and think of as essential, but those are some of the details that are going to be continuing to evolve. I want to really strongly encourage people to get a vaccine when their opportunity arrives. That is how we are going to be able to ultimately succeed as a society, succeed as a community. Normal is going to look different than it did. The technology changes, the recognition of societal inequity changes are going to be with us, and that's a good thing. But we need to get through this, and vaccinations are going to be a part of that. If you have concerns, I encourage you to study from reputable medical sources, like our great Dr. Mendoza here in the Monroe County Public Health Department, who has just been steadfast. I don't believe that he sleeps. If he does, it's in very, very small increments, because he is working so hard and so responsive, and I'm grateful to him for all of that work. On a different subject, earlier this week, Governor Cuomo issued an executive order giving towns the option to take action by resolution that would permit town assessors to basically automatically renew certain property tax exemptions granted under state law to income eligible seniors and disabled residents. You'll recall we wrote to the governor encouraging him to take this action. It is done by resolution of the town board if we want to do it here in Brighton, and you have that action on our agenda this evening to implement the governor's order. If any of you out there watching tonight have any questions about this exemption, these exemptions, I do encourage you to reach out to our town assessor, Sue Wentworth, and she will speak with you and answer any questions that you might have. Before we go to the open forum, and I'll just mention the phone number for open forum, as always, is 303-3060. If anybody does have any questions or comments, that's the number that they should call, 303-3060, and we'll get to those calls in just a moment. But we do have one proclamation tonight, and it's really one of those bittersweet proclamations. And if you had been out there this afternoon, as I know Captain Caraballo was there, along with Chief Cathaldi and Dr. McGowan and I, you would have felt that bittersweet feeling in the air. Because today, after 40 plus years, Vicki Penberg is retiring as a Brighton Central School District crossing guard, a town of Brighton crossing guard, but she's been crossing Brighton School District kids for many, actually multiple generations. Today was the last day of in-person classes before the holidays, so today was Vicki's last day. She's been crossing those students, but so much more. She knows these kids by name. She knows their families, a lot of their parents she crossed. So when we were out there today, along with Spectrum News that was filming it, we were really saying goodbye to Vicki and thank you on behalf of the entire community. We saw students hugging Vicki. People were honking their horns, waving, thanking her as they drove by. One student handed Vicki a thank you and goodbye message, folded as a crane, a paper crane. It was beautiful. It was so very, very meaningful. Chief Cathaldi presented Vicki with a plaque, and I presented her with a proclamation, and I'd like to read that proclamation right now. Whereas Vicki Penberg has been a mainstay of Monroe Avenue, shepherding generations of school children safely across this busy street each morning and afternoon. And whereas for more than 40 years, Vicki has been a respected sentinel watching over our children and a regular and positive presence in their lives. And whereas seemingly impervious to weather, or simply wishing she was impervious to weather, Vicki stood guard in sub-zero temperatures, lashing rains, and unusual hot spells, all to fulfill her duties. And whereas today we honor Vicki for her dedication to the town on the occasion of her retirement, and we wish her much happiness in the years to come, including sleeping in on some of those gloomy, frozen mornings. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed that I, William W. Maley, Brighton Town Supervisor, do hereby proclaim December 22nd, 2020 as Vicki Penberg Day in the town of Brighton, and thank Vicki for safely guiding our students to and from school every day. This proclamation was signed the 22nd day of December in the year 2020, and of course the original was presented to Vicki along with the department's plaque. Jose, is there anything you want to add from the police perspective, since our crossing guards are really part of the police organization?
Yeah, as you said earlier, it's just amazing to see how these kids go by and the impact that Vicki's had over 40 years, not just with the students currently, but with their families. So I was thankful to be able to be there, and we're going to miss her. It's a really important job here in the town that our crossing guards do, and for her to do it for 40 plus years is pretty amazing. So she'll be missed.
She will indeed. Normally there would have been, the AAA puts on a breakfast each year after the school year ended, and Vicki would have been recognized last June for 40 years of service, but obviously due to COVID, that luncheon didn't happen this year, but I'm glad we were able to do it today. I don't know what more we can say about Vicki, other than Vicki, you truly are a very special person, and I know what a difference you've made in countless students' lives. Thank you from all of us. Again, we'll go now to the open forum. And I don't believe that anybody has called in yet, but if anybody would like to, that number again is 303-3060. 303-3060. No calls yet, but we'll wait another minute. And as we do that, Chris, can I have a motion to approve the agenda tonight?
Bill, I move that we approve the agenda.
Second.
Thank you, Christine. Any discussion? Hearing none. Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember DePonzio.
Aye.
Councilmember Werner.
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt.
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado.
Aye.
Supervisor Maley.
Aye. Next, we have two public hearings tonight, and we'll continue with those. And if anybody does call in for the open forum, we'll circle back and get to their issues after we do these public hearings. The first public hearing concerns a proposed tree removal, actually two proposed tree removals from properties right-of-way adjacent to 207 Ashbourne Road and 88 Branford Road. Dan, has the necessary legal notice been given on this public hearing?
Yes, Supervisor. Notice was published in the December 10th edition of the Brighton Pittsford Post.
Thank you. And also sent out to the adjoining property holders?
Yes, that's correct, Supervisor. That has been sent to the property owners.
Thank you, Mike. Notice having been given, I declare this public hearing to be open. And again, if there is anybody who would like to address the town board in this public hearing or our second public hearing tonight on an amendment to Chapter 20 of the Town Code, you can call in at that same number, 303-3060, and your input will be included in the record. But for now, this public hearing is open on the tree removals. And Mike, maybe you can summarize them. These are a little bit, one of them in particular is a little different.
Yeah, they're both a little different, but the one at 207 Ashbourne, it's a black walnut tree. The homeowner had requested to have the tree removed. We took the project to the Public Works Committee. The Public Works Committee asked that we had our arborist look at it. The main reason was the homeowner was concerned that they plan on putting in a new driveway. They were concerned that the driveway would damage the tree and basically killed the tree. So we had our arborist look at it and determine whether that was the case or not. Arborist came back with a recommendation letter recommending that if the homeowner does improve their driveway, and pictures of their driveway, you should have them in your packet. You can see the roots are very, very visual. They're disturbed the driveway very much. It's very obvious that when they replace that driveway, they're going to disturb those roots. And the arborist felt that would severely damage the tree and recommended its removal. Since it is a live tree, it's not a dead or diseased tree, it becomes a significant tree and requires the public hearing. The second tree is 88 Branford. That is just a large tree. That's a 64-inch silver maple. Being greater than 30 inches in diameter is a significant tree. We did have our arborist look at that also. He did recommend that we consider maintenance, which would be very, very extensive and very, very costly. We did take that to the tree council. The tree council agreed that that it was not practical to provide that type of maintenance and that we should have the tree removed. So again, being a significant tree, it does require a public hearing.
Thank you, Mike. Certainly a picture is worth 1,000 words on that first one. It's really helpful to see that. Again, I don't believe we have any comments from members of the public. Do we have any comments from members of the board about either one of them? Mike, I do have some questions, particularly about the second one, because you're right. It was clearly the arborist's initial recommendation to save the tree and save the tree by doing some work on it. Do you have a sense, any kind of an estimate? He was talking about cabling. He was talking about periodic, twice a year, I think, examination of the tree. Do you have any sense as to what the upfront cost would be?
Bill, I do not. We didn't look into it. Some of the reasons we didn't look into it, cabling, we've looked at cabling other trees and we have found that no tree service will ever guarantee that cabling. So it provides you a high level of uncertainty. But the main factor in this tree is that it is a silver maple, and the silver maples are prone to fail without notice. They just do. Their big trees are very, very hazardous when they do fail because they're so large. Looking at it was going to be certainly a resource drain to monitor the tree. So it made more sense to take that tree down, put in a tree that was more appropriate for that site.
Yeah, the fact that it's a silver maple was, to me, certainly probably the most important thing that outweighed some of the other thoughts, recommendations, because it's a very big tree.
Yeah. And generally the silver maples, the limbs are very, very heavy. The cabling, I would be extremely surprised if it would be able to handle a failure. Just because of the size of the limbs on those trees.
Okay. We have not had anybody call in. Anybody else have any questions or comments on this?
Was there
Hearing
any
none, oh, go ahead, Chris.
Bill, was there any further discussion about who was to bear the expense of that walnut tree removal over on Ashbourne, given that it's a live tree and so forth?
Mike?
Chris, I'm working with the homeowner right now to determine. I've talked with it's Alicia Brand. We were emailing tonight. Basically, the intent would be for the homeowner to pay for the removal of that tree.
Well, is that something we can compromise to the extent that they would have to reimburse the town the value of the tree under the tree law? I don't know if Ken looked at that at all, but perhaps it's something we can forego.
I was not going to pursue that portion of the tree law.
Yeah, I would agree.
Any other questions or comments? Then at this time, I declare the public hearing to be closed. And I will ask for a motion. Robin?
Sure, Bill. On the matter regarding proposed tree removals at 207 Ashburn Road and 88 Brantford Road, I move that we adopt the resolution as prepared by the attorney to the town.
Second, Chris.
Any further discussion? Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember DePonzio,
Aye.
Councilmember Werner,
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt,
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado,
Aye.
Supervisor Mealy.
Aye. Next is a proposed local law amending Chapter 20 of the Town Code. Dan, has the legal notice been given in this matter?
Yes, Supervisor. This notice was also in the December 10th edition of the Brighton Pittsford Post.
Thank you. Notice having been given, I declare this public hearing to be open. This proposed local law would modify provisions of Chapter 20 of the Town Code relating to residency requirements. Again, anybody with comments can call in 303-3060, 303-3060. We have not gotten any calls on this one either. Any comments from members of the board?
Bill, this will allow us to have a very broad pool of candidates, and we'll be able to maintain the exceptional level of legal services we've had up to now.
Correct. Any further comments? Hearing none, and we've received none from the public, I declare this public hearing to be closed. Jason, you want to make this motion?
Yes. With respect to proposed local law amending Chapter 20 of the Town Code, I move we adopt the resolution as prepared by the attorney to the town.
Second, Robin.
Discussion? Hearing none, Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember DePonzio,
Aye.
Councilmember Werner,
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt,
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado,
Aye.
Supervisor Mealy.
Aye. Thank you. Committee reports. Again, our committees have not been meeting, but our chairs are still busy and our chairs are still reporting. So I'll start, as we always do, with Robin as the chair of the Community Services Committee. Robin?
Thanks, Bill. As you mentioned, the Community Services Committee did not meet in person on December 16th due to the pandemic provisions. So I do have some updates from our department heads. From our Recreation Department, In terms of our recreation programs, the winter and spring 2021 program offerings are coming together. Our catalog will once again be available online at www.townofbrighton.org/rec. And registration for Brighton residents begins on Tuesday, January 5th at 9 a.m. via Rec 1. And registration for non-residents will begin on Tuesday, January 12th at 9 a.m. We're excited to be putting together a whole new lineup of online and in-person programming for you to enjoy. So check the website, your email, and the Recreation Department Facebook page, which is www.facebook.com/Brighton Recreation, to stay up to date with all of our latest happenings. We'd love to have you join our online community. Our December recess programs, speaking of having you join us, we would love to have your children join us in person, as we still have some room left in our 3-day recess camp program next week, which features various rock climbing programs at Rock Ventures. Full details and registration can be found on our website or call for more information. You can reach our Brighton Recreation Department at 585-784-5260. We're pleased to announce that there will be a Brighton Symphony Orchestra virtual holiday concert on Friday, December 25th at 3 p.m. The link to view the concert will be posted on the orchestra's website, which is www.brightonsymphony.org, and on its Facebook page, which is www.facebook.com/Brighton Symphony Orchestra Rochester, 1 hour prior to the time of the concert. The program will feature a new virtual performance of In the Bleak of Midwinter by Gustav Holst and selections from the orchestra's 2018 holiday concert with the Genesee Chorale. Our Monroe County Grab and Go Senior Meal Program is continuing to be offered each week as part of the Monroe County Nutrition Program. We're thrilled to announce that this important program will continue into the new year, 2021. You can order ahead packaged meals. They're available for seniors age 60 plus. Meal pickup is right within town at the Brookside Recreation Center. So please contact us for full program details and to place your order. The number to call again is 585-784-5260, extension 0. Just please leave your name and phone number, and we will follow up with all of the relevant details. Our Brighton Farmers Market is now closed for the winter season. Reopening plans will be announced in the spring of 2021, so check back in March for reopening details. And you can follow us for updates at the Brighton Farmers Market website, which is www.brightonfarmersmarket.org. We look forward to an exciting and fun-filled 2021. As we are still subject to the safety mandates of the governor and the Monroe County Health Department, any necessary changes with regard to the recreation program updates will be communicated via email, our town website, and the Recreation Department Facebook page. We have a couple updates from our Parks Department as well. We have now officially canceled all facility reservations up through the end of January. At this time, we are not accepting any future reservations until state regulations become more defined for public gatherings, given our orange zone status. And despite the colder weather, the parks continue to be heavily used on a daily basis. As a reminder, we ask that the public please practice social distancing by staying at least 6 feet away from other people, and please wear your mask. We will continue working on park maintenance projects throughout the winter season, as well as working to fill the full-time position, which was recently vacated by Rich Wagner's retirement. An update to our CCA program. Again, residents and small businesses within Brighton should have received a letter announcing that Brighton has accepted a bid from Source Power for New York State generated hydropower energy. As such, Brighton will become the first municipality in Monroe County to launch a Community Choice Aggregation, or CCA, program. This program will allow us to leverage our collective purchasing power to reduce our energy prices. The price, fixed for 2 years, is lower than that of other renewable sources of energy and lower than what RG&E typically charges its customers for non-renewable sources of energy. The program will begin in January of 2021, and because it is based on New York State recs, it will qualify Brighton for certain NYSERDA grants. We ask that you also consider opting up to the town's community solar program, also with Source Power, so that your participation in community solar will also provide the opportunity for Brighton to invest in sustainability projects within our community. And I will give also a brief update for our Inclusion, Diversity, and Equity Advisory Board. The board members have completed hosting focus group discussions with a variety of constituencies within our community. We're now finalizing a public-facing website and developing programming on structural racism through our Brighton Rec Department. In addition, the board continues to incorporate feedback from our public World Cafe listening sessions to begin development of the Inclusion, Diversity, and Equity Action Plan. That concludes my report. Our next scheduled meeting of the Community Services Committee would have been on Wednesday, January 20th, 2020. We will not be meeting in person on that date at the Brookside Recreation Center. Thank you.
Thanks, Robin. You know, I just want to touch a little more on a couple things. You mentioned the grab and go program for our seniors. We were touch and go, frankly, as to how we were going to be able to fund that into 2021. And I really can't say enough about the commitment that Emily Kelsey, our senior program coordinator, and Becky Cotter, our director of recreation, put in. And they have now found funding that will allow the grab and go to continue through the entire 2021 year, pretty much, if numbers continue to stay about where they are. And their commitment to that work and the maintenance of contact and engagement with our seniors has really been wonderful to see. So I was so pleased with that. And then on the CCA, we did another virtual meeting. It was with the Brighton Rotary Club, but it was also open to the public, done on Zoom. And, you know, we've talked about, and there's a lot of moving parts, but in particular, some people have what are, you know, contracts with what are called ESCOs, energy supply companies. And they're already getting their electricity from another source, and they didn't get the letter. But at these meetings, we've heard from some of these folks. And one of the things we learned, and it was very graphically demonstrated, is that some of these ESCOs, you talk about bait and switch, they get you in, they make you think you're getting a cheap price. But who looks at their electric bill? Who really drills down all those zeros and, you know, what is it really, kilowatt hour? What does it cost? At that meeting a week ago, Monday night, there was someone on that Zoom meeting. Residents are going to be paying 4.29 cents approximately per kilowatt hour for clean, renewable source electricity. This person living in Brighton with an ESCO pulled out had his bill with him. And as we talked through it, we determined that he is paying about 12 cents per kilowatt hour for non-renewable, old-fashioned, dirty energy from an ESCO. So, you know, some people have questioned, well, how much are we really saving? And they're right. The price isn't a lot different. It is cheaper than what our Genie is charging right now for non-renewable energy. And the real benefit of this program in general is that we are going to be providing a source for all Brighton residents and small business customers of renewable energy. But for this household, not only are they going to get renewable energy, but their cost of electricity is going to go down from 12 cents per kilowatt hour to 4.29 cents, almost, you know, 2/3 off what they're currently paying. So I want to encourage folks, get out your RG&E bill, take a look at it, and look very closely, particularly if you're working with an ESCO, and particularly if you're working with an ESCO that doesn't give you clean, renewable energy. Take a look at it. It can be a little hard to figure out, but if you're not sure, call Monroe Community Power, 244-0244. And they will walk through that bill with you. And you might find you're going to save a lot more money than you think you are and get clean, renewable, New York generated electricity. That was a real eye-opener. So thanks for that report, Robin. We'll go now to Finance and Administrative Services. Jason.
Yes, Bill, the Finance and Administrative Services Committee has not met due to COVID-19. However, Finance Director Paula Parker did submit a list of action items with supporting correspondence last week. And each of those items appear on tonight's agenda and will be voted on in the course of this meeting. Our next meeting would have been on January 4th, immediately after our organizational meeting. However, that meeting has also been canceled. And we'll stay tuned to see when we can meet in person again.
Thank you very much, Jason. Public Safety Committee, Christine.
The theme continues. We have not met, but we were not scheduled to meet. However, there are some brief updates. First of all, Brighton Volunteer Ambulance reminds folks that the loan closet is still closed due to COVID. They have other resources available on their website should you need equipment at home. Their website is brightonambulance.org. It's the top item on their homepage. Also, kudos to Brighton Volunteer Ambulance for partnering with Santa Claus last week. Santa made the rounds of nearly every square inch of town to the best of his ability. And in fact, he heard the pleas of children and families saying, please come to all parts of Brighton, especially West Brighton. And Brighton Volunteer Ambulance helped Santa out. He made it as far and wide as possible in Brighton, double checking on children, making sure that they're going to be ready for the holiday this week. And I hope folks have heard that Dr. Fauci in Washington, D.C. and Governor Cuomo here in New York State have assured everyone that Santa Claus is COVID safe. He can visit homes. He can go down chimneys and enter in the other magical ways he does in houses that don't have chimneys. He has been given medical protection and dispensation from having to quarantine on his rounds around the globe, coming up very soon this week. So that was wonderful, very, very wonderful of Brighton Volunteer Ambulance to help Santa around town. That was awesome. Brighton Fire Department has some concerns to share with the community based on some recent incidents. One, both situations have been happening in Ellison Park, a very popular place for sledding. Earlier this week, volunteer and career firefighters assisted a citizen after he struck a tree while sledding at Ellison Park. And Fire Chief Aaron Hiller points out that it is very complicated to remove someone from the bottom of a sledding hill. The individual was injured, but I understand is doing all right. Chief Hiller really encourages folks to wear a helmet when sledding and to be very, very careful. The thrill is there, absolutely, sledding down those hills, but safety has to take precedence over the thrill. The other incidents at Ellison Park, in the dog park area, there were 3 separate incidents involving dogs falling through ice and becoming submerged in water. And the owners, out of concern, followed their dogs into the water. The potential for creating 2 tragedies instead of just one is great when you follow the animals in. Chief Hiller says it's completely understandable that people and pets are anxious to get outside and enjoy mild weather and winter activities, but please remember that what appears to be thickened ice does not necessarily mean conditions are safe for pets or people. While I, Chief Hiller, can't opine on the legality of letting dogs go off leash within the park or town, this is simply my personal, and I would add his professional, plea to you and your pets to stay off the ice and out of the water. For any number of reasons, for example, hypothermia, it is extraordinarily dangerous for everyone involved, you, your pets, and our responders. So please do be careful when you're out and about in the parks. The weather can kill. Moving back to public health. Public health is public safety. We're in a season of religious celebration, and one of the joys of the season is celebrating in community, but we still have to maintain safety. It's a reminder that that religious gatherings should remain at no more than 33% of the maximum occupancy of the building, or 25 individuals, whichever is lesser. Please take advantage of technology to celebrate in community and stay safe through the holiday season. If you need additional detail about the guidelines that have been established for religious gathering, any gatherings, businesses, schools, all of that is available on the New York State website. The URL is forward.ny.gov/statewide-guidelines. So we want everyone to be happy and healthy and well as we finish out this year and go into the new year. In the new year, public safety meetings, if they resume, will be on the second Tuesday of the month, 8 a.m. The next meeting, should restrictions be lifted, will be Tuesday, January 12th. If you have any issues of public safety to bring to the attention of the town, you can find all the contact information at townofbrighton.org/public safety committee. And that is all.
Thanks, Christine. I had some communication as well today with Chief Hiller, and I'm going to be reaching out tomorrow, to discuss with some senior folks at the county, what we might think about doing vis-a-vis the really scary situation we had with the dogs, and I know for one family, they lost their dog as a result of this incident. So we're going to have some discussions and see whether there are some things that can be done to, try to make sure we don't have any repeats on that. But thank you for making sure folks in the community know. And of course it's true, we talked about the dog park, but we have other parks with water, we have other parks. And as you said, any of our parks other than in the immediate enclosed dog park area itself, or in your yard, your own personal yard, all dogs must be on a leash at all times. And you highlight with the concern about falling through the ice. We're at that time of year. freeze and thaw. The ice is not thick. So very, very important to make sure people keep their dogs on a leash, especially in our parks. Thank you for that. And we'll finish with Chris, Public Works Committee. And you are muted.
Thanks, Bill. Public Works has been active with the rapid COVID test site. The town is working with the County Department of Health and Temple Birth Kodesh to implement the rapid testing program there. Tests are being offered at Temple Birth Kodesh from 2:00 p.m. to 4 p.m. on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Appointments can be made at www.monroecounty.gov. There's also a link on our Town of Brighton website. There will be no test given on either Christmas Eve or New Year's Eve, the 24th or the 31st. Mike, could you tell us how that testing program works and what kind of response are we getting?
Well, I can, Chris. It's how it works is basically it's a drive-through testing facility. Folks enter the temple from the, I guess it'd be the easternmost driveway and exit at the westernmost driveway. We have asked, originally we were asking for people to register at the Monroe County site. We have recently been taking, I guess for the past 3 or 4, I guess testing events, we've been taking folks who are not registered, which worked out pretty well for the first two events. The third event there, we were a little bit overwhelmed because we had people we didn't expect. We did catch up and make that work today. I'll bet you we did over 400 folks. So we started early. We started early December. We probably were doing 75 folks a day. So the first 2 days we did 75 folks. After that, we did about 150. Last Thursday, we did about 280. And I would imagine today, I don't have the counts, but it's 380 to 400 all day long. We had traffic lined up 3 deep in the temple parking lot. But we kept everything out of Elmwood. I think it went relatively smooth. From a traffic standpoint, I don't know how the testers were. So the testing's being done by Monroe County for the most part. The temple has donated the temple and their land to be able to do the testing. Brighton Police Department has been there offering guidance and traffic control, doing a fantastic job. Our highway department has been laying out the cones, making sure that everything's set up appropriately. Kudos to a gentleman by the name of Chucky Lovelace. He's been doing a great job out there directing traffic. Today was amazing, keeping 3 lanes of traffic moving ahead. And the highway department's been outstanding. So we've got a lot of really good partners out there. It's going, I think, better than expected. There are some real challenges, and some of the challenges are capacity. We don't have, for 400 people, we truly don't have the capacity for 400 people. So there are long waiting lines. And that being said, we only have 2 testing sites there. So we have 400 people, 2 testing sites. But we are getting everybody through. It's just taking some time. Obviously, our testing sites are outside. So the weather also plays a role. We've been very fortunate thus far this year. No major snow events, no major rain events. The cold's been cold, but not bitter cold. So it's been working out okay. And then one of the biggest challenges, we have a lot of parties involved. Like I said, we have the county, we have the town, we have Brighton Police Department. So it's been tough coordinating at times, but I think it's come together very well. I forgot to mention the temple's in there too as another interested party. Everybody's trying to do the best they can. And I think, like I said, I think we're beating expectations, but there are some challenges.
Well, thanks, Mike, and give our thanks to Chucky for a good job. Beyond that testing site, also leaf pickup continues, and the town has completed the second pass through the town during the week of December 14th. I know I saw the trucks go by this morning. There are no leaves on my street though, and hopefully we're through that season. But if there are piles out there, then we'll continue to pick them up until they're all gone. We're obviously switching over to our winter season and putting the plows on the trucks. Do you wait until the snow actually falls, Mike, or do we have them standing by ready to go?
Well, we're ready to go, Chris, but the plows are relatively easy to put on and off. We have they're easy to get on and off the truck. So, but we're always ready to go. We're anticipating we may have some snow, honestly, New Year or Christmas Eve, which would be nice for a white Christmas. Not so nice for the crews, but so we are ready to go.
Well, that's our primary focus this time of year. Our next meeting would have been January the 5th, always first Tuesday of the month, but again, we're foregoing those in-person meetings. Thanks, Phil.
And every operation that has as many moving parts, it's kind of like a symphony orchestra. There's, you got the oboes here and the violins over there and the cellos, which are my favorites, over there. But you got to have a conductor. And I want to give kudos to the conductor of that testing program who keeps all of those different parts working together and going so well. Mike, you've really done a heck of a job with that. Thank you.
Thanks, Bill.
You stepped up from before day one. You were there for all the meetings, working with the temple, and then every day, you're there. If things are a little challenged, you make sure, that whatever needs to change happens. And I can't say enough about that great work. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we'll go from there to new business. Jason, reading and approval of the claims.
Yes, Bill. Earlier today, I reviewed claims totaling $305,948.20. Notable claims included to Bartlett Tree Experts in the amount of $37,105 for the treatment of the emerald ash borers for town trees, which is on a 3-year cycle. Also to Sue Gardner Smith in the amount of $15,300 for services per contract related to the 2020 coordination of farmers market activities. Also to Kaplan Schmidt Electric Incorporated in the amount of $11,386, representing payment for the installation of replacement floor electrical outlet covers in the Brighton Memorial Library wing, and that was covered in the 2019 CIP. Also to Swain Ski Resort, in the amount of $2,967, representing payment for youth ski and snowboarding classes in camp recreation program. And finally, to 1801 Iroquois Rock Products, in the amount of $12,066.54 for asphalt for paving for the Duffield Road project. The claims all appear to be in order, and I move that they be approved.
Second, Robin.
Any discussion? Hearing none, Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember DePonzio,
Aye.
Councilmember Werner,
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt,
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado,
Aye.
Supervisor Mealy.
Aye. Jason.
Yes, the next matter seeks to authorize the supervisor to renew the town's cyber insurance policy for 1 year from January 19th, 2021 through January 18th, 2022 in an amount not to exceed $9,300 and execute any related documents. I move we adopt the resolution as prepared by the attorney to the town.
Second, Robin.
I was intrigued by, usually those things, are calendar year or something like that. I don't know whether that cycle is to confuse the Russians or what, but in any event, obviously we've heard a lot about cybersecurity these days, and more so than ever, it's important that we have this cyber coverage. So we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember DePonzio,
Aye.
Councilmember Werner,
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt,
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado,
Aye.
Supervisor Mealy.
Aye. Christine.
The next matter seeks to approve an amendment to the town clerk's fee schedule for boarding animals per the 2021 contract with Pittsford Animal Hospital. I move that we adopt the resolution before us.
Second, Chris.
This is a follow-up to a matter we heard last week when we authorized a renewal of the contract with them with that change in price. So this makes sure that our fees that we're getting from folks who recover their dogs match these new fees. Dan, anything more you want to say about this?
That summed it up perfectly.
All right. Then we have a motion and a second. Further discussion? If not, Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember DePonzio.
Aye.
Councilmember Werner.
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt.
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado.
Aye.
Supervisor Maley.
Aye. And Christine, I'll have you do this next one too.
All righty. The next matter seeks to authorize the supervisor to execute an amended agreement with West Fire Systems to add cellular service for fire alarm monitoring to the Operations Center and Town Hall. I move that we adopt the resolution before us.
Second, Chris.
Certainly an upgrade in service at a minor increase in cost. Obviously, the goal is public safety. Any discussion? Hearing none, Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember DePonzio.
Aye.
Councilmember Werner.
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt.
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado.
Aye.
Supervisor Maley.
Aye. Chris.
The next item is to authorize the supervisor to execute an agreement with Bruckner, Tillett, Rossi, Cahill, and Associates for property appraisal services. I move that we adopt the resolution before us.
Second, Robin.
And this is in connection with pending challenge to the tax assessment for the property in question. Further discussion? Hearing none, Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember DePonzio.
Aye.
Councilmember Werner.
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt.
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado.
Aye.
Supervisor Maley.
Aye. Jason.
Yes, the next matter seeks to approve amendment to the current municipal cooperation agreement with New York Liquid Asset Fund to change the current investment advisor and marketing agent. I move we adopt the resolution as prepared by the attorney to the town.
Second,
Thank you, Chris. Paula, do you want to
Sure.
talk about this?
Sure. The New York LAF is one of our municipal banking institutions that we work with, and this change is happening to that institution after their board of directors approved it. So they'll be changing their investment and their marketing advisors. So this is housekeeping. Each one of the municipal members has to pass this resolution in order to stay a member of the New York LAF.
It's
Paul,
sort of like a money market fund.
It is. Yep.
It's not quite the same, but it's along that line.
It is. Yep.
where are the funds actually retained, Paula?
The funds are, it was the Royal Bank of Canada, but it's a US institution that the funds are retained in. And they have to invest according to New York State investment law. So they just can't take the money and invest it in the stock market or do any of that. There's a certain list of items that they can invest in. So they are bound by New York State investment law.
But the New York fund, it's a New York governed fund, but it's an independent investment firm
Yes.
that holds the funds.
They don't hold the funds. The funds are held in banks in the United States. But if whatever the investment is, I think the advisors are helping LAF to maximize and invest wisely in the assets that we're allowed to invest in. So they're making this change officially, where these two companies have actually been working with LAF for several years now. So they're trying to maximize any type of interest earnings. So we're fully backed, we're fully insured, and the funds are in US instruments. They don't go abroad. They're not out somewhere where we don't know where they are.
These are these FDIC insured institutions that they're
Well, the town, remember, you only can get 250,000 in FDIC insurance. So we actually have to have collateralized investment. So the town is fully collateralized at 100%. We can have, you know, $10,000 or $12,000 invested in this account at any one given time, 100% collateralized.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Hearing none, we have a motion and a second. Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember DePonzio,
Aye.
Councilmember Werner,
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt,
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado,
Aye.
Supervisor Mealy.
Aye. Chris, why don't you do the next one?
The next item is to set a public hearing for the proposed creation of Extension 108 of the Brighton Consolidated Sanitary Sewer District. I move that we adopt the resolution before us.
Second.
This is on Collinsworth. Mike, anything you want to say about this extension?
Yeah, real quick, Bill. We did a similar extension for 59 Collinsworth. The town of Penfield operates a sanitary sewer. They actually collect the town's wastewater and convey it to a pump station at the eastern end of the roadway. That pump station includes a force main that runs in front of these homes on Collinsworth. This home will tie into that force main via a small pump station. And that's about it. So it's a one house district extension to allow these folks to connect. They're having real problems with their septic system. They've been actually at one point they were taking showers at someone else's house. So
right on the Penfield line.
Real close to the Penfield line. Yeah. So.
Okay, and this public hearing then would be set for our second meeting in January.
Right, and this also has we also already have an agreement with the town of Penfield to connect with their force main. So that's already been taken care of. So we're in a good spot with that.
Good. And so we're basically, just as people's septic systems fail, they're joining by extension. Is that sort of our norm here?
That in this section of Collinsworth, yes.
Yeah.
There's probably 4 more homes, Bill, that haven't connected.
Yeah. Ken, were you starting to?
Yes, I'm sorry for interrupting.
Sorry.
The resolution that I prepared on this, at the time I prepared the resolution, the meeting packet that I was sent did not contain the petition. I want to just check to make sure that the final packet does contain the petition, and the resolution I drafted did not refer to the petition date. I had left a blank for that to be filled in. The resolution that was sent to me at 4:30 this afternoon still had a blank there. I've now seen the resolution that Chad Roscoe sent over to me, and the date should be August 28th, 2020.
It is.
Is that filled in on?
Yeah.
Okay. What was emailed to me at 4:30, it still had not been.
Yeah. August 28th, and it is notarized.
Very good. And that's filled in on the resolution as well, that date? Can somebody?
It's now filled in on my copy, yes.
It is all filled in. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember DePonzio,
Aye.
Councilmember Werner,
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt,
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado,
Aye.
Supervisor Mealy.
Aye. Robin.
Certainly. The next matter seeks to accept donations from area businesses to support recreation programs in the amount of $1,000. I move that we adopt the resolution as prepared by the attorney to the town.
Second. Christine.
These were, well, let's give them each some credit. ESL Federal Credit Union, Rochester Regional Health Immediate Care, they're in the 12 Corners, and St. John's Senior Living. All of them are sponsors of our summer concert series, which of course, sadly did not happen this year, but they made their sponsorship donations anyway. with ESL and Rochester Regional directing that their donations simply be used towards other 2020 programming. And St. John's Senior Living, The Optimist, asked that it be used for the 2021 concert series sponsorship. And we're appreciative to all three of those organizations and for their support over the years. We have a motion and a second to accept those. Further discussion? Hearing none, Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember DePonzio,
Aye.
Councilmember Werner,
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt,
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado, Supervisor Mailey.
Aye. I think you were muted, Christine, but reading lips, that was an aye. Thank you. Robin, why don't you do the next one too?
Certainly. The next matter seeks to accept a donation from Naomi Friedman for the Brighton Senior Citizen Program Trust Fund in the amount of $25. I move that we adopt the resolution as prepared by the attorney to the town.
Second, Jason.
Thank you, Ms. Friedman. We appreciate the support. And if there are no other comments, Dan, please call the roll to accept her donation.
Councilmember DePonzio,
Aye.
Councilmember Werner,
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt,
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado,
Aye.
Supervisor Mailey.
Aye. And we're on a roll. Robin, why don't you do the library board too?
Absolutely. The next matter seeks to approve appointments to the Brighton Memorial Library Board of Trustees. I move that we adopt the resolution as prepared by the attorney to the town.
Second, Chris.
I just want to say thank you both for that motion and second. We are so fortunate in this community. We spoke with, well, we had over, I think over a dozen people applied for the library board. Jason and I, along with Executive Director Jennifer Reese-Taggart and Board President Linda Rapkin, interviewed 6 of them. And I just can't recall ever interviewing such a strong, talented group of people for openings. We had 2 openings. This was tough. This was really tough. And I'm hoping we're going to be able to engage some of the people that we weren't able to pick this time, maybe in other positions or in future openings here. But thank you to everybody that applied, and Surinder Jayadev and Michael Berger will be appointed by this resolution. So, and we have a motion and a second. Jason, unless you want to add anything.
I concur. I concur. This was, in fact, when we were discussing the pools, I described our situation as an embarrassment of riches.
It was fun. I mean, these were great people to be able to talk to.
Oh, yes.
It really was.
Great group of people. And I didn't even see, and from what I understand from attending the library board meeting on Monday, there were actually 16 applicants.
Yeah, I knew there were more than a dozen.
Yeah,
That's great.
We narrowed it down to the 6, and it was just very difficult to even narrow it down from the 6 that we interviewed. But
a lot of love for the library.
That's for sure. That's for sure.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember DePonzio,
Aye.
Councilmember Werner,
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt,
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado,
Aye.
Supervisor Mailey.
Aye. Jason.
Yes, the next matter seeks to approve a 1-year exemption for renewing applications for real property partial tax exemptions for senior citizens and disabled people for Governor Cuomo's Executive Order number 202.83. I move we adopt the resolution as prepared by the attorney to the town.
Second, Christine.
And this is the matter that I spoke of at the beginning of the meeting. This will allow people to simply renew without filing an application for the senior and disabled exemptions. But it also does where the assessor is aware of circumstances that have changed, particularly if a person who had been receiving the exemption has moved, transferred the property to a new owner, have changed their primary residence, deceased, then the assessor can demand a new application to confirm that under those changed circumstances, the property is still eligible for the exemption. And that's all in compliance with the governor's executive order that he issued yesterday. So fast movement. And again, this is something that we advocated for, the State Assessors Association advocated for, and the State Association of Towns advocated for. So we appreciate the governor taking action. We have a motion and a second. Further discussion? Hearing none. Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember DePonzio,
Aye.
Councilmember Werner,
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt,
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado,
Aye.
Supervisor Mailey.
Aye. Matters of the supervisor, you will remember back in March, I think it was March 25th, the first Zoom meeting that we had, the town board took action to establish the position of deputy supervisor and then to ratify my appointment of town clerk Dan Amon to the position of deputy supervisor, a position that he holds without compensation. Now, at the time, we perhaps naively made that appointment for a term, the shorter of the duration of the emergency, the public health emergency declared here in the town due to COVID, or the end of the year. I think all hoping that before year end, we would have gotten through the pandemic. The goal was continuity of government in a time of pandemic, but unfortunately, here we are, looking at 2021 with the same need for continuity of government. So I am reappointing Dan under those same terms to continue as deputy supervisor, again, without consideration, and would ask for your resolution ratifying my appointment. It's not necessary under the law, but I want, in the interest of transparency, to do that. So Jason, can you make that motion, please?
With respect to approve the reappointment of deputy supervisor, I move we adopt the resolution as prepared by the attorney to the town.
Second.
Second. Thank you, Christine. Discussion? Hearing none.
I do have
yeah,
something.
sure.
I maintain my concern because we have not really checked with the Office of the Controller or the Attorney General to ensure that there is not a problem with perceived conflicts of interest in this position, that we, until we have more information from the comptroller, I renew my my objection to naming the receiver of taxes to this position.
Thank you. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none. Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember DePonzio,
Aye.
Councilmember Werner,
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt,
Aye, or nay, sorry.
Councilmember Corrado,
Aye.
Supervisor Mailey.
Aye. Couple other things. I do want to talk about a decision of the New York State Court of Appeals, the highest court in New York, which unanimously today ruled in favor of the town of Brighton and the town of Arundecoit in a lawsuit that stems from the action by the prior Monroe County administration on December 30, 2016, when they unilaterally and actually really retroactively announced that they were no longer going to guarantee payment of unpaid property maintenance charges on real estate located in the town of Brighton and in other towns in Monroe County for decades. And certainly our position always was in compliance with the real property tax law. Monroe County, if we charge the taxpayer, as we do, with property maintenance work, or in some cases, the actual demolition of an unsafe property, we charge the taxpayer, the property owner. If they pay, great. If they don't pay, it is guaranteed by the county. It is re-levied on by the county, and ultimately the county takes a lien in that property, which they can enforce and collect it that way. It's really been a shared services agreement that has worked well for decades, but unilaterally that former administration decided they weren't going to do it any longer. And that was at a time, you'll recall, we were still dealing with, and towns across the county were dealing with sort of the aftermath of the Great Recession and zombie properties across our communities. And we had incurred expenses of close to $50,000 that year relating to demolition and property maintenance. The town of Arundecoit had over $100,000. So this was a big deal. The county has the right to enforce liens. We don't. So the two towns, Arundecoit and Brighton, sued. State Supreme Court here in Monroe County ruled in our favor. The county appealed, and the lower appellate court, the appellate division, in a split decision, reversed, saying that the county had the right to do what they did. But because it was a split decision, we had the right to appeal to the highest court, to the Court of Appeals, and we did so. Ken represented the town of Brighton in that matter. The town of Arundecoit had Harris Beach, Heart of Seacrest. I knew it was one of those H's, representing them. And I know for Ken, it was a great experience. Your first time arguing to the Court of Appeals, right, Ken?
Yes, that's correct. It was.
Which is, for a lot of lawyers talk about getting to argue to the United States Supreme Court. In a lot of ways, it's very similar. It's the highest court in the state of New York. And I still remember Ken calling me from the road coming back, and what a great experience, and how well he thought it went. And I think it did, because the Court of Appeals unanimously reversed the appellate division, held in our favor, and we will now be able to continue to proceed with property maintenance and, where necessary, demolition matters, safe and confident that even if the property owner doesn't pay up, the county will re-levy it. They will execute that levy if they have to. And we will be able to continue to maintain the homes and other buildings in our neighborhoods. So it was a great thing. I do want to thank the town of Arundecoit, who was involved with that, and the State Association of Towns for their great legal briefs in the matter. This is our final town board meeting of what has been a long year, and we can all cheer that final town board meeting of 2020. Obviously, we hope that 2021 will be a better year for all involved. But looking back at 2020, I want to thank all of our town staff. You've worked so hard, adapting, making sure we could continue to provide outstanding service to the community, whether it's plowing the streets, keeping the streets safe, or answering questions and solving problems that our residents have, and all of the other many, many matters that town government does and that our town residents rely on a day-to-day basis. We are very fortunate. I am very fortunate to have smart, resourceful leaders running all of our departments and hardworking men and women in those departments who get the job done, no matter what the obstacles, no matter how challenging it may be in a pandemic or bad weather or you name it, they get it done. So I want to thank you all. I want to thank them all. I want to wish everybody here in the town who is celebrating Christmas a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year to everyone. Thank you. Matters of the attorney for the town.
Thank you, Bill. Well, I know how Councilman Werner feels now. My report was going to focus on the Court of Appeals.
Sorry.
But you did a great job reporting on that. It is a great result, and very pleased that the court ruled. The decision, by the way, written by the chief judge of the Court of Appeals. And it was a great experience and a great honor going there representing the town and getting a chance to argue. But I did get to quite enjoy, while you were explaining the court decision, watching Allie, and now I'll get to watch Paige sign Zombie.
Well done.
So a good result, not just, and again, it's a great example of the supervisor and the town board putting Brighton at the forefront of a very important issue. This not only affects us here in the town of Brighton, but as the supervisor said, really the entire county and actually towns across the state. We're tracking this very closely. And it was celebrated by the New York State Association of Towns, this court decision, because it does affect, in a very tangential financial way, the ability of towns across the state to enforce their codes and make sure that properties are maintained or demolished when health and safety demands that. So thank you, Bill. Thank you, town board members, for allowing me to go and taking a leadership stance on this very important issue. The only other thing I wanted to report on, and I apologize if you had already reported on this, Supervisor, but I'm not sure you did earlier in the meeting when you started. We did get approval for a new emergency order here in the town of Brighton relating to what we call temporary and revocable permits to allow for outdoor or temporary structures to be erected for COVID-19 testing purposes. The U of R had approached the town about the desire to do that. Currently under the code, a temporary and revocable permit can be issued by going to the Zoning Board of Appeals, but that process takes some time, and we didn't want there to be a delay. And so the supervisor asked me to take to the state, which is where we have to get these emergency orders approved through the State Department of Health, an emergency order that he had drafted to allow for those temporary and revocable permits to be issued instead directly in the Building and Planning Department without having to go through the ZBA process, and permission to have that go into effect immediately was granted by the State Department of Health at about 4:30, 5 o'clock this afternoon.
That's great. Thank you.
That's all I have to report this evening.
Because and as they have been doing throughout the pandemic, they turn those requests around lightning fast. It's greatly appreciated. They recognize emergency order means exactly that. So thank you. I am remiss. I skipped over one item in the matters of the supervisor, and that is our expense and revenue report for the month of November. Can I have a motion to receive and file that report? Jason?
So moved.
Second, Robin.
Paula?
Yes.
Any?
Well, it's, the
Any
revenues are a little pitiful, I will say. And we talked about that during the last meeting when we had our third quarter report. I'll be putting some temporary numbers together for December. Of course, we'll have our audit, but it's the same story that we talked about for the third quarter. Revenues are down. Expenses are down a little bit as well because of the lack of programming. And so we are going to play this by ear, and we'll see how December looks, but we are expecting our normal revenues to actually be declined. We aren't going to know where sales tax will land until about February of next year when we get that payment in that's for the substantial amount of the fourth quarter of 2020.
Although we did get the interim update for November, and as has been the case for most months since the pandemic began, it was down. It was down around 6%, 5.8, I think it was, Paula, 2020 as compared to 2019. So we will, as you said, we'll have to wait to see after the quarter ends just how we did with sales tax revenues, which are our second largest source of revenue after property tax. So we have a motion to receive and file. Anything else you want to say about that? We have that motion to receive and file. Any further comments? Hearing none. Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember DePonzio?
Aye.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt?
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado?
Aye.
Supervisor Maley?
Aye. We've already heard from Ken. Matters of the town clerk.
Not too much tonight, Supervisor. I just would like to say before we meet next, the 2021 town and county tax collection will have commenced. So a reminder that we do have the ability to receive payments on 12/31 for anybody who wants to get a payment in calendar 2020 for income tax purposes. If anybody was not too adversely affected by that terrible SALT decision of a couple of years ago. But beyond that, we've thanks to our COVID restrictions, not be taking payments in the office. We've got our drop box located next to entrance number 9 at the rear of Town Hall. US mail payments will be in place, and I have on order a second payment drop box that will be located in the police and court, the public safety lobby, so that if folks wander into the building, it'll be easier for them that they can just drop it in there without having to go back outside and find the other box. I think trying to learn lessons, that kind of came up from in the fall with school. Trying to find those pain points that we went through in the fall and solve those for next time. So I'm optimistic. I think that's going to help a lot. I do need to note that M&T Bank has decided for their employee safety, they will not be accepting tax payments at the branch this cycle. Traditionally, they always have, but their volume went up a lot in the fall, and they're really they're for their own staff health and safety reasons. Obviously they're open every day, but they weren't used to the volume that we kind of had sent their way. Despite I tried to encourage people to use the drive-through as much as possible, but even so, it was a decision that they made internally that we have to accept. It's their call, and certainly with us making a similar decision for our health and safety, it would be pretty hypocritical for me to be too angry with them for that. So just so keep that in mind. Again, M&T Bank, and this all is mentioned on the bill. So it's the Dropbox and mail is what's focused on the bill. So that'll be there. And I think that's probably next time we chat, we'll be depositing checks for Paula.
Yes, we will. Thank you, Dan. Matters of the board?
Yes, I have two matters, mostly announcements for the community. The first, even though we're all focused on celebrations at this point in the year, there are two important household issues. One is that the deadline to sign up for a health plan through New York State of Health has been extended. New Yorkers have 2 more weeks. They have until December 31st, actually not 2 more weeks anymore, 1 more week to enroll in a health plan that begins on January 1st. Information about that plan, if you're not getting health insurance through your employer or other means, you can get it through the New York State Marketplace, and you can find information on that at nystateofhealth.ny.gov, or you can call 855-355-5777 to enroll. And much of the celebrating at this time of year is food focused, but food insecurity knows no boundaries. There are members of our own community who may be at risk of going without. And FoodLink has created a very useful resource for finding community meal programs, similar like our seniors grab and go plan, or curbside markets and food pantries. And that can be found online at foodlinkny.org/find-food. So there are resources out there if you find yourself facing this holiday or any time in the near future without adequate food resources.
Thanks, Christine. Those are both important messages.
And
Any other matters of the board?
I just wanted to report on 2 very positive customer service experiences that I had with 2 different town departments. Back at the end of October, I adopted a dog, and first order of business was to look into the process for obtaining a dog license. So our town clerk, Dan Amon, did point me out to the website where I was able to fill the application out online and upload the supporting documents, the rabies certificate and all of that good stuff. And I uploaded that on a Thursday evening. Friday morning, I had an email telling me that it had been processed, telling me how I could submit the very modest fee to pay for the dog permit, which was $10. I dropped that off in the drop box behind Town Hall. And 2 days later, I had the tag in the mail. So all in all, very, very seamless, very smooth, and very modestly priced. And then, of course, once you have a dog, you should think about fencing in your yard. So there are gaps in my backyard. I called the contractor and then had to go through the process of getting a permit, and contacted the building department. Actually found the application forms online, plain as day. I was able to fill that out. I called over to the building department, and Tracy Major walked me through. I was able to scan the documents with the supporting documentation and email that over to the building department. And once I did that, I think it was a matter of hours. Tracy emailed me back. We clarified a question regarding insurance coverage from the contractor. And I was notified that the application had been approved. I was given a receipt number and a number to call, where I was able to call into the town's clerk's office, and they took a credit card in order to pay for that fee. So never had to step foot in the town hall. All very quick, very seamless, and it could all be done electronically. So it was all very, very good that our departments have been able to adapt during the pandemic, and business as usual. So thank you.
And
Thanks, Jason.
if I might pile on to that, I recently was stopped by one of the members of our law firm, and he had unfortunately left his car open as he went in to shop, and someone came out and stole his handicapped hang tag, which is, I think, a pretty low blow, but nonetheless, he was amazed at how helpful Dan was in helping him replace that immediately. And it could not have gone faster. It's these small little acts and small little services that impress people about the quality of our government. And Dan, as I told my colleague, I said, you know, the town clerk is all about customer service, and the entire town are the customers. And Dan, so congratulations again on that very positive feedback.
Thank you, Chris. It's always great to hear that. Ken, do we need an executive session?
I don't think so. I
Okay.
think I reported on matters of litigation at our last meeting. There's really been no new developments that we need to talk about. I think we're in good shape.
Good. Then can I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved. Jason.
Second, Chris.
Please call the roll.
Councilmember DePonzio,
Aye.
Councilmember Werner,
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt,
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado,
Aye.
Supervisor Mealy.
Aye. I want to wish everybody out there a safe and happy holiday season. Again, I know it's hard, but this year is not like any other, and our behavior has to be not like any other. Please enjoy the holidays, celebrate the holidays, do it with members of your own immediate household. Please, we need to do that if we're going to slow down the deadly, and it is deadly, spread of COVID-19. We're going to get through this. The vaccine is there, but we need to get there. And the most important thing we can do over the next 10 days or so is to follow those guidelines, and in particular, don't congregate with people that are outside your household. Do it for them. Do it for yourself. Whatever you're doing it for, we've just got to do it this time. Enjoy the season. I hope you all stay safe, healthy. Thank you for your service. And good night, everybody. Our next meeting, our organizational meeting, again on Zoom, January 4th at noon. And our next regular board meeting will be Wednesday, January 13th at 7 p.m. Have a great evening, everybody. Good night.
Good night. Happy holidays.